We finished building our solar power shed, and so we thought we'd go over some of the systems involved in that today with you. Today we'll feature the 12-volt system. So on that system we are powering the light that's on the exterior of the building, the diesel pump for fueling our tractor and excavator, and the lighting in the interior of the building. We have a 155 watt Shell module that powers it all, and we are using that module because it's one that we had around. It's actually more module than we need on this system, but it was handy. It's facing west, which generally isn't considered ideal, but in this scenario, because it is a very low draw system, we don't need a lot of power being replenished back into the battery. And we have an MPPT charge controller, which does allow us to use the larger panel. Come on inside and we'll show you some of the system specifics. So this is the interior of our 12-volt system. Up at the top powering it, we have the 30 amp MPPT charge controller, the Midnite kit. We used an MPPT in this system because pairing with the module that we have, it does require an MPPT charge controller. Below that we have a Midnite Solar MNPV12 combiner box, and we've used this in a slightly non-traditional application. So on this side we have our load circuits, and so this is the interior lights for the building, which we did not do on a light switch because we don't use them very often, and so just having them on the breaker, which is a load break rated breaker, works well for us. It's like a light switch but without the additional wiring. And then over here we have our breaker for the diesel pump outside, and this is our battery breaker for the connection between the charge controller and the battery. This last breaker over here is for our PV in, so that's between the solar module and the charge controller. And we have another wire coming in right here, which is actually for the light outside. We will be putting a breaker on that eventually. It has not arrived yet. Once it does, we'll wire that in as well. It'll be another independent circuit on that DIN rail. The reason that we are okay with having that without a breaker at this point is the kit does have a load fuse in it. It is not advisable to use that as your only overcurrent protection, but in a pinch it can be used, and that's what we're doing until that breaker does arrive. The last item that we have in this system is a 12-volt lithium battery, and while that is probably overkill for what we're doing, it's what we had available and it does work quite well. So in general the system load is very low, and that's because we have a 6-watt draw for our outdoor light and only a few watts on our indoor lights as well, which are used very intermittently. The only real substantial draw on this system is the diesel pump, and while that is a substantial draw, it's only used for a few minutes at a time and only every few weeks. So the solar panel that we have is more than adequate to provide enough power to recharge the battery. It doesn't have to recharge it overly quickly because it has a long time between usage. If you have any questions about the 12-volt system, go ahead and put them in the comments and we'll answer them. We're going to give you a quick little sneak peek of the rest of the system that's coming. This is the system that we actually use to power our house, and we will be getting some new, not on the market yet items from Midnite Solar that we'll be testing in here as well. And we'll be showing you a few things about a couple of different battery chemistries and a couple different battery manufacturers over the next few weeks. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.